Welcome back. There's actually a big announcement from Redfin that was actually just announced on Tuesday because they just announced a new housing price index. It's Redfin's version of Case-Shiller and Corelogic's housing price index, as well as the Federal Housing Finance Agency's index as well. Just posted on Tuesday here. It says today, Redfin is releasing a new tool that measures changes in US home prices. So if you guys follow the channel, you guys all know that I talk about Redfin's weekly update, which shares the median sold price on a national level and also for each of the 50 most populous metros. But now they're going to incorporate a new housing price index similar to what Corelogic announces on a monthly basis. It says the Redfin Home Price Index, or their RHPI, uses the repeat sales pricing method to calculate how home prices of single-family houses have changed over time. Now look at this. Here is kind of like some key takeaways according to Investopedia.com using this method, which again is the repeat sales method compared to the median sold price that the National Association of Realtors and other entities share regarding price changes on a national level here. It says the repeat sales method assesses how home values change over time by focusing on the different sales prices of that same piece of real estate. So they look at the previous 3 months to see all the houses that sold and look at the previous sale to see the fluctuation in prices. So looking at this repeat sales index or the repeat sales method, it's looking at that same piece of real estate and how the prices have changed since the previous sale. It says various housing price indexes have adopted the repeat sales method to eliminate the problem of accounting for price differences in houses with varying characteristics. For example, if a higher share of houses sold in a more expensive price range, or if a higher share of houses sold in a more affordable range, that could skew or alter the median sold price. And I actually made a video the other day regarding this because when I'm looking at the median sold price for brand new home construction, according to the US Census Bureau, part of the reason why prices declined in October was due to the mix in sales. That's because there was actually more houses that sold in the range, I think it was less than $300,000 to $400,000. So more houses that sold this October compared to last October. But on top of that, this October, there was fewer houses that sold in the more expensive range compared to 1 year ago. That's one of the reasons why the median sold price for brand new home construction this October actually decreased. It also says here the repeat sales method is not without its flaws, restricting data to houses that have sold more than twice during the same sample period. So it excludes houses that only sold once during the sample period, and overlooking the fact that the same property can change over time. An example for you guys, I bought a fixer several years ago. It needed a lot of work to say the least. And just last year, my wife and I did a remodel of the house, and therefore, because of that, the value of our house jumped due to the renovation. So if we were to sell our house right now, the increase in prices or the increase in the value is really due to the big remodel we did, but also due to the increase in prices overall as well. So if the repeat sales method was to be used for our house, if we were to sell it, it would be a little bit skewed here because of the big changes in the condition of our property right now. Also, according to Investopedia.com, other examples of companies using this method here, perhaps the most well-known is the S&P Corelogic Case-Shiller National Home Price Index, which is a video I made for you guys just the other day here. That measures the changes in value of houses, of single-family houses, by tracking the purchase price and the resale value of single-family houses. This index does not factor in new home construction, condos, or co-ops, and also excludes arms or non-arm's length transactions. In other words, sales between family members in which potentially they're selling their house for below market value. Other indexes using this method here is the Federal Housing Finance Agency's Home Price Index, which is based on data from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Going back to Redfin's report here, and by the way, I'm going to kind of provide some context regarding what they're doing, how this compares to other companies, and also I'll share a summary with you guys as well. And then I'll provide the latest data that Redfin has to share regarding their home price index. So according to Redfin here, the median home sold price, which is reported by the National Association of Realtors and previously from Redfin as well, measures the typical sale price of houses that sold during the time frame. We compared that median price with the median price of houses that sold during a different time frame. Therefore, when we report on home price growth as measured by the median sold price, we're comparing two different groups of houses. In contrast, though, the Redfin's Housing Price Index measures sales prices of houses that sold during a given time frame and how those prices have changed since the last time those same houses sold. As such, it paints a more precise picture of a typical gain or loss and controls for shifts in factors such as home size. They also talk about how the median sold price method is not seasonally adjusted, which makes it a little bit more challenging to compare month-to-month changes. So when I share my monthly video from the National Association of Realtors, instead of providing month-to-month changes for the year, I look at the month-to-month change on average going back to 2010. That kind of negates or eliminates the changes due to seasonality. In contrast, Redfin's HPI is seasonally adjusted, making it much easier to compare month-to-month changes throughout the year. They also share how Redfin's index is different compared to Corelogic's Case-Shiller Home Price Index. So for example, both use the repeat sales pricing method. However, Redfin's data is actually going to be a little bit more timely here. So for example, the Case-Shiller Index is released with a 2-month lag, meaning November's data is slated to be released at the end of January. In contrast, November's Redfin's data will be published the second to last week of December. So Redfin's data will be published about 1 month sooner compared to Corelogic's. Also, Redfin has access to real-time data from multiple listing services, whereas Corelogic looks at county records, and therefore that's why one of the reasons why there's such a big lag in their reports here. Also, Redfin is releasing a national index as well as individual indexes for 50 of the most populous metros. Case-Shiller Index, or the Case-Shiller Index, looks at on a national level as well as 20 major metros. Redfin will weight all homes equally, whereas the Case-Shiller Index gives a more weight to more expensive markets. It says we choose to make the Redfin Home Price Index equal weighted so it doesn't skew towards higher price markets. Redfin also mentions here that their index will be published the second to last Tuesday each and every month. So for example, November's data will be posted on December 19th. And of course, I'll definitely make a video once they announce that report here. So other things to note about this methodology here, it only includes houses that have sold at least once before, meaning newly constructed houses are excluded. It also excludes home flips as well. Also, something worth mentioning here as well is that October's data includes the previous 3 months. So for example, October will include July, September, as well as October. So before I share their latest report here, I want to share a summary because that was a lot of information here. So the repeat sales method determines how home values change over time by focusing on different sales prices for the same piece of real estate. The pros here. This eliminates the problem of accounting for price differences of houses of different sizes and characteristics. So again, when talking about the median sold price, that's just the median price of all houses that sold during the time frame. Whereas this repeat sales method looks at the previous sale in order to determine price changes. Also, Redfin's HPI is seasonally adjusted, making it much easier to compare month-to-month data. Also, Redfin's index will be reported much more timely compared to the FHFA and Corelogic Case-Shiller. I'll describe that here below. Let's also talk about the cons. If a home went through a major remodel, like my house, Or if it deteriorated in condition, then you wouldn't be comparing two identical houses. And like I shared here, my house was a fixer when I bought it. And of course, because we put a lot of money into our remodel, our home value increased. So that would really skew the data using this repeat sales method if I was to sell, which I don't plan to sell. Con number 2 here, it does not account for houses that sold only once during the time frame. And again, this is very much lagging data, even though they're going to be about 1 month faster compared to CoreLogic here. So for example, Redfin and CoreLogic's index is based on the previous 3-month average. So September's report is for a 3-month average of July, August, and September. Like I mentioned here, this method here of repeat sales is used by the Federal Housing Finance Agency's Home Price Index, which is based on Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's data of single-family houses. However, though, this is very much lagging, though, because they just announced on November 28th Q3's numbers. Also, S&P Corelogic Case-Shiller Home Price Index also has a 2-month lag as well. They reported on November 28th September's data, whereas Redfin just announced today October's data. So it's about 1 month faster compared to CoreLogic. Also, the National Association of Realtors, or NAR, uses the median sold price of all housing types. So you look at single-family houses, condos, co-ops, and townhomes. Therefore, the mix in sales per them can impact the change in the median sold price on a national level. The HPI for Redfin, FHFA, and CoreLogic only looks at single-family houses. Also, the National Association of Realtors also does not account for seasonality in their numbers. So that makes it much more challenging to compare previous months compared to the most current report here. Again, that's why I share monthly data when looking at historical averages going back to 2010. So for example, in my report I shared with you guys last month or last week, I shared the average September through October change going back to 2010, rather than looking at the previous month-to-month change throughout the year. And of course, I do that because of seasonality, because it's not accurate to compare the change in prices from September through October and compare that to the change we saw back in February through March, for example. Okay, let's get back to Redfin's report here, because they reported on a national level, home prices increased by 0.7% month to month in October to a new record high. Again, keep in mind here, this is seasonally adjusted. Therefore, when looking at not seasonally adjusted, so for example, according to the National Association of Realtors, they reported that home prices actually decreased in October, not increasing to an all-time record high. So when accounting for a seasonal adjustment here, prices, according to Redfin here, reached a new all-time record high, which by the way, CoreLogic also announced today that for the month of September, prices also increased to an all-time record high when you account for seasonality. Also on a year-over-year basis, prices increased by 6.1% in October, the largest annual increase since the start of 2023. Also, when looking at this chart right here, which goes back to April 2012, you can see the slow run up in prices ever since we hit the onset of COVID. After that, prices absolutely skyrocketed. But what I found to be interesting is that the index right now is at 161, again, seasonally adjusted. The previous high last year was set back in May, when the index was actually at 151. So when adjusting for seasonality, we're way above last year's peak. In regards to the 50 most populous metros, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania increased the most, up by 1.8% compared to September. After that came Virginia Beach, Virginia, up by 1.7%. Then we have Boston, Columbus, and West Palm Beach, Florida. In contrast, 12 metros out of the 50 most populous metros reported decreases. The biggest drop was Austin, Texas, declining by 1.5%. Then we had San Fran, San Antonio, Cincinnati, and Philadelphia. Please leave me a comment below with your thoughts regarding this new housing price index. And by the way, of course, if you guys want me to make a new video each and every month, please leave me a comment below. But I found this to be interesting because a lot of people have been commenting on my channel saying how the Corelogic Home Price Index is actually much more accurate compared to Redfin's and the National Association of Realtors median sold price, because they're not looking at, or because they can be impacted by the mix in home sales and other characteristics regarding the houses that sold during the time frame. But please leave a comment below with your thoughts regarding this. And also, thank you so much for watching today's video. I appreciate you. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.